I'd like to go ahead and call the meeting of the TRPA Operations and Governance Committee to order. The date is Wednesday, November 19th, 2025, and it is 9:05 in the morning. I apologize for the little bit of a late start, but we were waiting to hopefully have a quorum determined. And so could we officially establish that on the record, Maria?
Mr. Aguilar?
Rachel Bennett, Deputy of Operations here for Secretary Aguilar.
Thank you, Ms. Bennett.
Thank you.
Mr. Bass? Ms. Gustafson?
Here.
Ms. Hill?
Here.
Ms. Lane?
Here.
Mr. Rice? Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Okay, great. The first item on the agenda will be, nope, excuse me, we just did that. I will now go over the remote and in-person meeting rules for the day. Remote committee members, please raise your hand to speak and mute your microphone unless speaking to help cut down on the background noise. I'd like to ask that all remote members turn on your camera if you're able. Remote members may not use the chat box to make any comments or to have sidebar conversations. If you are viewing the webinar on a personal computer in the room, please ensure that your microphone and speakers are turned off to prevent audio feedback. Members of the public who have joined us in person, please raise your hand at the appropriate time for public comment, and you will be called on first to speak in front of the room. Committee members who are in person, please raise your hand if you wish to comment, state your name, and speak clearly into the microphone in front of you. If you're viewing the webinar on a personal computer, please ensure that your microphone and speakers are turned off when you are not speaking to prevent audio feedback into the room. The first item on our agenda is the public comment period for any items listed on the agenda. Any member of the public wishing to address the committee on an agenda item, please raise your hand now, either in person or by clicking the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen or by dialing *9 on your phone, and you will be called on and unmuted by a TRPA staff member. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per person. This comment period is reserved for items on the agenda. Comments on other matters will be redirected to the public interest comment period before adjournment of the committee meeting. Are there any members of the public in person first that would like to address the committee on agenda items? Seeing none, are there any on Zoom?
Madam Chair, we have one hand raised.
Okay.
And Nichols, please go ahead and address the committee.
Good morning, Ms. Nichols.
Good morning. So looking at the financials, I'm wondering what the forecast is for planning review fee, since we're what assumptions are being made about increased development. We're only at 19% of the budget, but we're through 33% of the year. So I wondered if there were some project timelines that have been delayed or deferred. And then how much of the budget of the $30 million a year do you think depends on future growth and related fees? Is there some sensitivity if development slows or shifts? Anyway, that's my couple of questions. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. I've taken note of those questions and we'll take that up when we deal with the financials. If that's okay with you. Does that work for you? Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you. Are there any other public?
No other hands are raised, Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll go ahead and close the public comment period. And we will now move to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No changes.
Okay, the agenda will be deemed approved as posted. We're now on agenda item number 3, approval of the minutes. You can find the draft minutes starting on page 15 of your packet. Does any member of the committee wish to make a change? Okay, anybody online? Okay, seeing none, then I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. There is a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Thank you. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Thank you. Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. That brings us to agenda item number 4, which is discussion and possible recommendation for approval of the October financials. This information can be found beginning on page 79 of your packet. I'd like to turn this item over to Mr. Cox.
Thank you. Good morning. Chad Cox, TRPA Finance Lead for the record. Hey, a couple of highlights here before we jump into the detail. First and foremost, our audit is on track to present to you in December. We're mostly completed with the financial review and all the controls that we review as a staff and with our auditors. We're working on what's called the management discussion and analysis, where we basically it's our narrative around how the year went. That's been completed by all the department managers, and we're kind of fine tuning through legal, and then obviously we'll get director review of that before completing that, and bringing that to you in December as part of our annual process to review that. The second thing on the list here is we did have another interest rate cut. It was actually in October, typo on my slide here. So interest rates are down almost a full point now since a year ago. So we continue to see those interest rates cuts. There was one in September and then another in October. So the current Fed rate is 3.75 to 4%. So we've seen that drop down, like I said, almost a full point. This is not fully affecting our LAIF and LGIP funds yet. LAIF and LGIP are invested in treasuries and things of that sort. So we will see those, I think those rates continue to decrease over time, but we're continuing to earn a good interest rate on our portfolio. We'll bring that back to you all for an update in January. And I did talk with our principal investment team, and they will not be available in January to present on the financials. Eric's going to have a surgery, and so he had recommended timing for May, because I know last we discussed we wanted to bring them back and have some discussion. So I'm hoping May would be okay with you guys to review principals portion of our investments. It'd be about a year from the last time.
Any thoughts on that?
Okay.
Okay.
So anyway, just a quick update on those. A couple other highlights. Revenues, and we'll get into the details here, are at 38% of budget, 11.7. Planning activity, and we'll get into this in more detail on the next slide, but planning activity is strong. We're receiving lots of calls, fielding lots of questions. But to Ann's point, planning fees themselves are down versus prior year, and slightly versus the budget, as she mentioned. And so that's something we're monitoring every month. We're looking at both the activities and the calls that are coming in, and then we're also looking at the fees associated with permitting. So that's something that we continue to review on a monthly basis. And some of those costs that we have associated with fees, we do most of the work, but oftentimes when we get super busy, there's a third party that supports us with some of the planning and the permitting. So if you look at the costs associated with our planning department, costs are also under budget. So it's not like costs are over and fees income are down. They're kind of in line. So no concern there, and we will continue to monitor. And then the other thing here I'd say as a highlight is grant revenue did uptick as planned in October when we invoiced our quarterly grant revenues. And then other highlights here. Expenses 5.9, we're at 19% of the budget. Comps on track, and contracts are in line with grants. So jumping to the next page, getting into the revenue by detail. So state revenue, we've talked about this the last couple months, done and booked, which is great. Grants, we did invoice $900,000 through October. There was a couple of invoices that went out after the cutoff in early November. We're down one in our grant staff currently. Julia's on maternity leave, so the team's working together to cover her load. So I think we're in great shape. If you look at last year at this time, we'd only invoiced around 300,000. So we're doing better than the prior year, but recognize that we still have a long way to go for the year. But I don't see any concerns there. The fees for service, that 1.9 is inclusive of the planning fees, settlements, and AIS fees. That's where you'll see the planning fees being down slightly, but that's offset because we're ahead on settlements, and just the timing of AIS it tends to be more in the summer months, and it trickles down in the winter, obviously, because we're doing less on the lake in the winter. Local revenues were invoiced, and those are in now. You can see those are at 100% of budget. Those were completed in October. Rent revenue is on track, and so is our other investment income. That was booked. The LAIF quarterly interest was booked in October, so that stepped up right to where we had expected. So with that, I feel like we're on track on revenue, and we will continue to keep an eye on fees on a monthly basis. Any questions on the revenues?
Questions on the revenues? No? Okay, anybody online? Okay, seeing none. One question, are you going to go into a little bit of summary about the interest revenue? Or would now be the time to?
Yeah, you ask there. That's really that other revenue line. So the 371 is namely that is our interest income. So we're a third of the way through the year, through October, and we're a third of the way through that income line. So we're on track.
But I thought I read a memo, and I'm just trying to remember if it was that or a conversation, but that your team has strategically kind of put out some longer term investments so to protect against the interest rates that are falling.
Definitely. So for example, the principal portfolio, like the average length of time on those securities, like a year ago is maybe 20 months. We're up to roughly 33 months. So our investment team with principal has been purchasing longer term securities so we can lock in that 4.5% for a longer period of time on that part of our portfolio. So I think that's been smart. And so in a way, as interest rates do continue to potentially drop, we've got a good chunk of our investments locked in at the higher rate for almost 3 years.
Yeah, which is excellent. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great question. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
So if there are no more questions, we'll jump to expenses. Compensation is on track at a third through the year. We're a third through the year, a third through the budget. Contracts stepped up a bit versus last month, around 800K, which was in line, right? As those contracts come in, that is what enables us to invoice our funders. So both of those went up sequentially, meaning up in October versus September, roughly the same amount, which makes sense, and it's in line with our grant implementation. We did receive our Zion's invoice, and that was paid on November 10th, which is our annual debt service or semi-annual debt service payment. So in November, you'll see the financing come up to roughly half because we do that twice a year. And then the other bucket captures things like some of the building projects and things that are going on here. So that will continue to ramp. We've been working a couple projects on site to revamp our gym downstairs for employees, as well as Jeremy and I have been doing some cleanup on the second floor, just to kind of some fall cleaning in advance of next spring. So we actually we did a couple of dumpster loads of things over the last week. So we're continuing to make progress on our deferred maintenance and our facilities cleanup. So expenses seem to be in pretty good shape. From a mitigation perspective, right, we had some stuff approved in the last year. We're expecting some of those things to come through. I think I saw one project payment go out in the last accounts payable. So hopefully we see that 125 go up next month. That's been flat for the last 4 months. So that's it on the expense front. Any questions?
Seeing none in the room, are there any questions online? Okay.
Great. So to finish with cash flow, currently fiscal year to date, we have a positive cash flow of $6.5 million. For the month, we had around $1.7 million in cash receipts, which was driven by mainly grant receipts. So I know there was concerns as we met last week around some of the government shutdown. Would that impact us being paid? Receivables are actually down from 1.4 last month to 1.1, and we've invoiced, so we're continuing to see those payments come in. I haven't heard of anything getting delayed. So the receipts for the month were 1.7, driven by grant receipts. And then our disbursements for the month were $2.1 million, which was driven by those contracts I told you about, as well as our payroll. So stuff looks to be on track, and we'll spend down that $6.5 million of cash over the fiscal year. So no concerns there.
Okay. Any questions? No? Okay, continue on.
Yeah, that would conclude the review for October 2025.
Okay, great. Then I'll bring it back to the committee for further discussion or a motion.
I'd be happy to make the motion. I didn't know if anyone online had any other comments.
Ms. Bennett or Ms. Hill?
I'll make the
No.
motion.
No comment.
Yeah, no comment.
Okay.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So
Ms.
moved.
Gustafson.
Yes, move to approve
Okay,
or recommend the acceptance to the board.
thank you. So there is a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, seeing none, maybe we do a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Bennett,
Aye. Yes.
Mr. Bass, Ms. Hill,
Yes.
Ms. Gustafson. Yes. Mr. Rice, Ms. Lane.
Yes,
Madam Chair, that motion passes.
thank you. We'll move on to item number 5, which is upcoming topics. Mr. Cox.
Great. I touched on a couple of things, but just, real quick, in December, in addition to the audit, there will not be a transportation committee in December. So we're going to bring the TDA allocations to the ops committee, which I think we've done historically. Kira will present that, but just a heads up, that'll be coming to us in December as well. In January, we'll cover the treasurer's report again and the financials. February, we've got the AIS fees. Dennis will bring those to you like we typically do on an annual basis.
Sure.
And then we start to get, if you can believe it, into budget season. In April, we'll be having our retreat. We'll give you a first pass of the fiscal year 27 budget. Like I mentioned, May, we'll do the investment update, provided Eric gets through his surgery okay and can be on site. We're shooting for May for our principal investment update. And then obviously June we'll be coming back to you for budget recommendation and hopefully approval. So yeah,
Amazing how fast the years go by. It's like,
They
did we
can.
just do that?
we're
Okay, great.
looking ahead. So yeah, that's it.
That's a good update. Thank you. Are there any comments from my colleagues with regards to upcoming topics? Okay, seeing none, we'll go ahead and move on as that was an informational item only. That brings us to item number 6, which is committee member comments. Do any of my committee members have comments or questions at this time? Okay,
No comments or questions at this time.
thanks, Ms. Bennett. We'll go ahead and move on to our final matter of business, which is our general public interest comment period. Any member of the public wishing to address the Operations and Governance Committee on any item listed or not listed on the agenda may do so at this time. Do we have anybody in the room that would like to address the Operations and Governance Committee? Okay, seeing none, may we look online?
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised to make public comment.
Okay, thank you. We'll go ahead and close public comment. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion passes.